Hello and welcome to today's video on high altitude investing. My name is Dallin Anderson and today I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin and the stock market and really going over how these two correlate to each other, what might happen from a scenario perspective as far as Bitcoin affecting the S&P and the S&P 500 affecting Bitcoin, the potential of a correction in the S&P, the levels that I'm personally watching, and what can happen in Bitcoin if this trend line fails or if this trend line holds. So there's lots of different scenarios and things that can happen right now. It's a very, very important point in the market, and I'm going to mainly be discussing why I'm bullish on Bitcoin so long as this trend line holds, and why I am watching the S&P 500 very closely because there's a potential correction, but we haven't confirmed anything as of yet. So it's going to be a really awesome video. Make sure that you guys hit that like button for me right now, as well as the subscribe button, because as you guys know, I am dedicated to uploading 5 videos a week on this YouTube channel all through 2020 to keep you guys posted in the cryptocurrency markets. And of course, even when there's something going on in the world markets that correlates or relates to cryptocurrency, I will be keeping you guys posted and updated on those things as well. Go ahead and comment down below where you're tuning in from in this beautiful world, and we'll get straight into today's video. I'm actually going to start off today by looking at the S&P 500 first. Something that I want to show you guys right off the bat is that the S&P 500 has had two 50% corrections in the past 20 years. So we're talking from the 90s until today, and that's about 20 or 30 years overall, but really mainly the past 20 years since 2000. And so this right here has a 50% drop and a 56% drop. And then we have a 53% drop drawn up over here. Now this actually hasn't happened yet, but this over here was the 2000 crash, the 2003 crash is when it was at the lowest point. And that is associated with the internet bubble. So this right here was internet bubble, and then this was internet bubble crash. This right here was associated with the housing market crash. This is the 2008 financial crisis. So that is a 50% drop as well. Since then, we have recovered since 2008, and we made a very, very nice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Elliott wave structure. Now we rejected with these candles. We have these wicks up here. That's a rejection. And then a very, very large rejection sell-off candle off of the price point of about 3,400 per S&P. Now, what we're really watching in this is this upward pointing trend line, because this upward pointing trend line, if that can't hold, may end up taking us lower, and that would probably have us perform some type of a correction to the same degree or size as 2008 and or the internet bubble crash. And so this may be the biggest, or around the same size as the two biggest corrections in the S&P 500 in the past 20 years. And so what we really, really want to see is some type of support holding for the S&P 500. If you're a bull, that would be the support of that trend line. And then maybe this fifth wave isn't over yet, and we've just had a sell-off in one of the first waves here. But, you know, you guys, at this point, with the amount that it has fell and how close it is to the trend line, I can see why there is a lot of fear in the market. But I don't think that this is just going to directly fail. I don't think that it's just going to instantly fail. I think that what is a lot more likely to happen at this trend line is to have some type of bounce, and then, you know, then we kind of decide what happens. Because if we can get a lot of momentum off of that bounce and start to get back up above that fifth wave with a lot of strength, that's going to obviously look a lot better for the bulls. But if we just bounce right here and then we make kind of this V structure and instantly reject and start heading right back to this low, with no signs of significant strength and then proceed to fail that trend line, we could definitely go in for that bigger correction. I have actually posted some calls on like Amazon and stuff, but then Amazon went up for one more high, actually past the point where I posted that we could see a rejection and a bear market to start. So I was a little bit early on some of my calls for the stock market, got a little bit too early. They ended up making one final high, but that final high does look like it's rejecting quite hard. So if it does go ahead and start that recession phase, then, you know, I basically just got just a little bit too, basically tried calling it 1 year sooner than I should have. So, you know, that happens occasionally, but the reason that happened for me was because I was looking at the structure on the stock market like this, and I saw a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. I had an alternative that it would go higher than this. But it ended up playing that alternative out, and this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave wasn't the top of the market. We ended up having a bigger fifth wave. And so because of that, you have to adjust your wave count and look at the market a little bit differently and then see what's going to happen from there. But overall, in the big picture, we have been trending up for so long, and really the stock market every 10 years has some type of a correction. 8 to 10 years is very common. That's like sizable, not just a small one. And so that's kind of why I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen in the stock market. So what does that mean for Bitcoin, you guys? What does that mean for the cryptocurrency markets? Overall, gold has actually been doing very well. Stuff that is highly scarce and generally speaking, commodities do well when the stocks crash. Commodities seem to lag behind the stock market and do their bubbles after. But with that being said, we do have oil dropping quite significantly. Bitcoin is kind of looked at like a digital gold or a digital commodity, and it has dropped off a little bit with the stock market, but we're still near this major upward pointing trend line on Bitcoin in the big picture. And that's what I really want you guys to remember, that if this trend line can hold and we continue to trend up, then this is a 1 and a 2 wave. And this is just a little bit of a shakeout before we proceed to continue on this upward pointing trend. And that trend line that we've had since 2015 is really key significant right now, very, very significant for a technical level and something that I'm watching closely with Bitcoin. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Bitcoin recovers right here off of this support line and starts to trend up because of the Elliott wave structure. And with that being said, if commodities do make their bull runs as the stock market corrects, and then the commodities can correct because they've done their parabolic bull runs after, lagging behind, just like it has previously with those, with oil and gold and things like that, then it wouldn't surprise me if Bitcoin is treated as a digital commodity and it follows behind with those. But we do want to watch this trend line very closely, and we want to be aware of different Elliott wave perspectives. There is an Elliott wave perspective where it's a very big ABC like this, but we don't, I don't want to jump the conclusion on that until we actually fail this support. But that is one of the alternative counts for Bitcoin, and that's one of the things about Elliott waves. If we fail this support, then you have to alter your strategy and then think about how much Tether you want to have in your account versus how much Bitcoin you want to have in your account, so that you don't have too much risk exposure for a potential larger ABC correction. But until we get to that point, until we actually break that technical level, there's no reason to make any large changes in our portfolio, in my opinion. And this is not financial advice, but this is what I'm personally doing in the market and what I am proposing for you guys to consider. And that is why I'm very, very careful about what I'm doing with stocks. If this does happen, it will provide a very, very large opportunity for people to buy and invest in the stock market when it's really cheap. Could you imagine if you would have bought if you look at this rather than fear, look at it as opportunity. If you imagine when you could have bought the S&P 500 in 2008 or the S&P 500 after the internet bubble and had those very, very large percentage gains directly after. So it's not something that I want to spread fear or anything like that. This is all opportunity. This is all perspective. And obviously, this is all just my conjecture on what I think the market is going to do and what I see from an Elliott wave perspective, from a technical perspective. So that trend line is very important, you guys. The technical level of the previous low is about 6,400 per coin. If that fails, that would probably confirm a failure of that trend line. So it is a really important part and point for the whole market right now. Bitcoin, the S&P, we're next to major trend lines, and we need to see how they react. And we really need to see if it does what it has in the past and commodities start to do a rally as stocks crash because the commodities have been so undervalued for so long, like silver and oil, that they need to do their rallies. And if so, how does that apply to Bitcoin? Do we see that reflect in Bitcoin's price? So these are the things I'm thinking about. This is what I wanted to share with you guys today. I'm still long Bitcoin personally. It's just a matter of waiting for these technical levels and then adjusting my trading plans and keeping you guys posted on everything as I do so. And the S&P 500, I am excited if we do get a big correction, because I think that will provide a very good opportunity for investors to actually put money into the markets and have a very, very undervalued stock market that you guys can pick up and, you know, be able to tell people down the road that you invested in the dip and bought when everybody was fearful. Just like I said in another video, Warren Buffett always says, be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. And that's what I want you guys to remember today. So I really appreciate you guys tuning into today's video on high altitude investing. Go ahead and hit that like button for me right now. Let's see if we can get 150 likes on this video. And subscribe if you guys haven't to this channel right now. I have a personal goal of reaching 100,000 subscribers, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's update. As always, stay profitable out there.